All right, boys and germs, welcome to my little series called Training Talk. This series is all about common questions I get asked regarding training philosophies and maybe a few of my own biased opinions on techniques and tricks that maybe you can use and you can apply to your own training. So today I want to talk 2 leg days per week. Most programs I will do for people will contain 2 leg days. And the question is, why 2 leg days? So let's quickly go into some of the reasons. All right, 2 leg days per week for a couple of very important reasons. The first one here, the leg muscles are big. They're the biggest muscle groups in the body. You have the quads, you have the hamstrings, you have the glutes. And when they're trained and they're trained well, they will add to your overall weight. If that's something you're trying to do, you're trying to gain weight in the body. When you train them and they are built well, they give you a significant performance improvement. So no matter what sport it is that you're involved in, if you train your legs, they will help you become better at your sport. Run faster, jump higher, go for longer in the field, run further distances in marathons and different things like that. So training the legs is hugely important. When you think about it on a daily basis, what carries you around? What gets you into your truck? What gets you out of bed? What moves you from here to the car? What gets you from A to B? It's your legs. So you got to look after them. When you train the muscles of the legs, you also protect the joints, the ankles, the knees and the hips, which are hugely important as you get older in life. So training legs twice a week, that will be the first main reason, because the muscles are important of the lower body. The second main reason is the squat movement or the squat movement pattern. This is a hugely important pattern for all humans to be able to execute well. You squat down to the toilet, you stand back up. It's important that you know how to do this. The more we can do this, the more we can push our joints to their full range of motion as often as possible, the more that joint lasts and the longer it will last. So developing good technique in the squat pattern is essential for life. You watch babies and very small children when they're playing with toys and how they squat down to the bottom, arse to grass, be able to play around and then up and around and move around. We have lost that the older we've gotten in life. So making sure that when we train that we are always improving that squat pattern, and it doesn't really matter how long you've been training or your training experience, improving your squat movement or the squat pattern is always essential, and it can always be improved. All right. Secondly, which will bring me to the hinge pattern, being able to hinge over from the hips and back to the top. So many people do not know how to do this properly. So when it comes to heavy lifting in the gym, you see a lot of the back rounding and flexing and extending of the spine. But when we go to what you should be able to do is, remove the flexion and extension of the spine and hinge completely from the hips. When we know how to do this properly in the external world, in the world outside the gym, we'll be able to move weight and pick up our kids properly without injuring our backs. So we use and we develop the hinge pattern in the gym. So again, in life, things are easier to do, and we move away from this flexion and extension of the back, because that's when we'll do an injury. Over time, this flexion and extension will wear and tear the muscles around the spine, which is putting the spine through a huge range of motion that's not necessary. The muscles of our core and either side of our spine are designed to lock us in and stop us moving under heavy loading. All right, so training the hinge pattern and squat pattern are super important. If these are things you struggle with, get a coach, someone that's good at these movements, and get them to train you how to move well. Core strength. I think I've strength spelled right, it doesn't matter. So when you do squat movements and hinge movements, you are training your core. So you don't want to automatically cut your body off from the hips down if you're training your legs. It's super important that your core is on and it's strong when you are doing these movements, so it automatically gets trained. A lot of people wonder why I don't put more ab work in my programs, and I don't, because it's these movements and even my upper body movements that I use to train my core. Every movement I will do in the gym requires this to be tight. If this is tight and being held under tension all the time in all movements, that means I'm training it. So there's no real need to do extra work. You can if you want, but under these movements, you should be getting enough training done. The hormonal response, okay? So when we squat or we deadlift, we put a lot of stress on our hormonal system and our nervous system. And in a response, they get stronger and they get better able to adapt to it. Particularly if you're looking to build muscle and you're looking for a testosterone boost, and even in females, you know, if you're training legs, you're manipulating those hormones, your estrogen, your progesterone. When you stress these hormones out, you get a dip, especially during the training sessions for those legs. You get a dip down because you're applying stress to the body. Then as a knock-on effect, you get a spike within 24 to 48 hours later. So when you're training legs twice a week, you're pretty much stimulating your hormones. And if you stimulate your hormones, that means you're going to recover better and you're going to grow. Okay, so training legs twice a week, lads, super important. Do not miss leg days. And of course, the final one is the booty gains. Even the girls like the booties on the boys. So this isn't a female only thing. This is for the lads as well. There is a huge movement in the last couple of years to, you know, have bigger, stronger, trained legs, bigger booties, all that sort of crack. And I think it's fantastic. But as I said, it's not only for the females. So you want a bigger booty, that means, again, your back is safer, your core is stronger, and you're able to basically tackle and perform in the world better. So that is the reason why I program 2 leg days a week, and I think everyone should be doing it. When it comes to exercise selection, that's another kettle of fish altogether. But if you go back to what I've said here, the squat pattern and the hinge pattern, mixing up those 2 movements is essential. All right, so I hope that helps. That's a little bit of the first in our series of our training talk. There's more of these videos to come. If you have any questions you'd like me to answer or talk about, please send them in. Giddy up.